Welcome to Season 4 of You're Not Alone with Townsend. On this podcast, I'll be sitting down with guests from all over the world to discuss everything under the umbrella of mental health, diagnoses, sharing stories of resilience, medical advice, and even getting some tips and tricks from licensed counselors. The goal of this podcast is to teach us how to understand others, ourselves, and help spread love and light, one episode at a time. Please make sure to like and follow this podcast, and if you'd like to see the videos of these conversations, hop on over to my YouTube channel, TownsendTmusic YouTube, where you can find the podcast and my latest music. This podcast is run solely by supporters and listeners just like you. So if you'd like to help keep this podcast and project going, please consider hopping on patreon.com/TownsendTmusic to be part of the team. You'll also find extra content and questions with each and every guest. Let's hop in. What is up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of You're Not Alone with Townsend. Today, we're going to be touching on a topic we've touched on before in the past, but I feel like it is just so important. We all go through it. We all struggle with it. Unfortunately, it's just kind of part of life. So we're going to be focusing on grief today. What does that look like? What are ways to work around it? I've got my friend Zippy here. We're going to talk about what that looks like for her. We got to chit chat and written some books about it. She's helping people through this process while she goes through it herself. But Zippy, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is such an honor. You look great, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, you shining and stuff. When she got on here, she's like, "Oh, it's been a crazy week." I'm like, "I wish I looked that good after my crazy week. I look like trash when I'm stressed and had a long week, just like hair everywhere." Yeah. Well, you keep yourself together well.
I try.
All right. Well, we're just going to go ahead and hop in. So, who is Zippy? What a job, a location? What do people know? What do you want them to know about you?
Well, my name is Zipporiah. I'm from Morrilton, Arkansas, but I was raised in Little Rock. I live in Maumelle currently. As far as occupation, I am an author and a publisher. So that's what I do for a living. I'm a mother of two. I have two boys, a 21-year-old and a 6-year-old. So that's just my little basic little life. I love it.
Basic. Yeah, right. Basic. You wrote a book, like not only one, like several books, and you're a mom only. Come on, sister. Mom's like the hardest job in the world, times two, plus writing book. Stop it right now. You're being too humble. So so Zippy and I got to chit-chatting, and she's really invested her life into grief and explaining what that looks like. And like she said, she wrote a lot of books about it. And something that stuck with me is, why? What got you so invested and so interested in such, for lack of a better term, a terrible time in life? Like, why are you so invested in grief?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't really, if a family member passed away, it was like you knew it happened, but you really didn't understand it until it really hit home, like in my house. And my baby brother was murdered in 2011 by one of his friends, or a so-called friend. And then about 10 months later, my grandmother passed away, my mom's mother. And then 6 months after she passed, my oldest brother was killed in a car accident. And so it's just like been one tragedy after another. And I never dealt with it because I felt like, my parents lost their children. So my grief doesn't matter because I didn't lose a child. I just lost a brother. And then when my grandmother passed, my mom lost her mother. So my grief doesn't matter because that was my grandmother, but it was her mom. So I never really dealt with it. And then when my mother got sick in 2016, she had a stroke and heart attack. Although she survived, she was in a coma for 3 months. And when she left the hospital, she was not the same person that was at my house, the day before everything happened. And so after about 7 years after my mom had gotten sick, grief just kind of hit me. And I didn't really know what it was. I just thought maybe, okay, I think I'm losing it. Maybe today is the day. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe
Today's it. This is it.
This is it. This is okay. We're here. But I realized, I was like, wait a minute. Let me go back and process this. And I'm like, I'm grieving because I never did it. So that's what got me invested in it. And I'm just like, this is something that we need to talk about because it's still so taboo for some reason. that people feel like they have to hide their emotions. But again, society has made us feel like we have to, shut down any type of. I mean, I've never seen a society in this particular time that is so like they have vacated anything as it relates to emotion. They're, everybody has to be up because that's what society tells you. You have to be on. You have to be happy. You can't be sad. You can't feel this. You can't feel that. And we've been trained to be that way, but it's a part of life. And so I just felt like I needed to write about it because I didn't want anybody else to have to go through what I went through without at least having some type of knowledge or some tips on what to expect in the process. So that's what got me invested in it, was my own experience with tragedy, because not only did I lose my brothers and my grandmother, and I almost lost my mom. My grandfather passed away a year after my mom got sick, and then my best friend of over 30 years. And I just, these things happened, and I didn't know that this was a part of, this was a big thing. Grief is a real life thing. So
Yeah. I love how you pointed out, because I feel like this is something I hear a lot from other people. My grief isn't as big as theirs, so, or my
mhm.
feelings aren't as valid as theirs, so I'm going to sweep them under the rug. I love that you pointed that out, because again, that's something I get a lot. Like your example was, well, my mom lost a son, I just lost a brother. And so you
Mhm.
stick it under the rug and you expect it to go away. Did you
Right.
find that when you push these feelings down and push them down, and you said like 7 years later, did it just kind of like come bubbling to the surface?
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting in the bed at home, and all of a sudden, I had been feeling kind of like sad that day, but I'm still going through life, doing what I do, being a mom, being a wife at the time, and all the things. And I mean, I was just sitting there, and all of a sudden, I started crying, but it came from a place that felt like the day I got the call that my brother had been killed.
Okay.
It was like in my gut, and the whole feeling like you can't swallow, you got a knot in your throat.
Yeah.
And the more I cried, the more that feeling came on me, and I was like, why am I feeling this? So it just kind of just, it just overtook me, and I didn't know like what to do in that moment. So I just had a whole complete meltdown.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was ugly. I
It
would say
was
that it was
ugly.
ugly.
Listen, I
It
feel
was
like your
ugly.
body, like as a human, your body can only handle so much. And when we try to hide
Absolutely.
it and push it down, that body is going to remind you at some point, like, hey, we
You
gotta,
sure
we
will.
gotta address this. Did
Hmm.
it was such a long time in between what actually happened and then your reaction. Were you able to know in the moment, like, okay, I bet this is grief, or were you like, I'm losing it?
I really did. I thought I was losing it. I was just
Yeah.
like, what? Because my thing has always been that, people, my friends laugh at me because I wear black every day.
Yeah.
And they was like, why do you wear black every day? I was like, well, because there's one decision I don't have to make in a day. If I know I'm
Mm.
wearing black, I don't have to look for anything else. But on the flip side of that, as you stated earlier, well, you look good, this and the other, but I've always been one that I presented whole,
Yeah.
but I was broken inside because I was hurt. But I felt like I had to present this. So after a while, I started to believe my own facade.
Yeah.
I started to believe that I was okay. So I just pushed all of my feelings away. Like I didn't deal with it. If I thought about my brothers, I would think about them. And even if it was a sad moment, I would shift it to a happy moment so that I didn't have to deal with the pain of it. I could just deal with the happy part of it. Like, oh, well, we did this or we did that, or I would think about the fact that we all had our first child in the same year, a couple of months apart.
Yeah.
I would think about things like that to redirect myself so that I wouldn't have to deal with the pain of it. I can just deal with it on this end of it and not have to go through the emotional part of it. And I trained myself very well until the training failed.
Yep. Yep.
And so, yeah, it worked until it didn't.
So I feel like a lot of people, we self medicate or we self cope, and we're like, this seems like a really good way to cope with it. And it can work for a little bit. For example, redirecting into positive thoughts instead of going just head on and facing the grief. What what can grief look like for some people? Like for you, I imagine outsiders looking at you thought, Zippy's got it together. She showed up, her hair's done, she's dressed nice. They'd never know. So what are some things that it might look like that we could keep an eye out for?
Excessive cheerfulness.
Okay.
When you know that a person has experienced a loss, they can sometimes be excessively happy.
Yeah.
And that they're deflecting. It can appear in, some people are just sad, but then you have people who, I have a friend that is dealing with grief, and it's another type of grief. We can talk about it later, but I realized that that's what it is. Like, she's very promiscuous, and that's another sign. People that are like isolate themselves. It can look like that. It can look like anxiety. People who deal with extreme anxiety. And these are some of the things that I dealt with this anxiety, and not realizing that's what it was. A lot of times grief shows up in your body, mm-hmm. and it's not something that anyone can visibly see, but a person that all of a sudden starts to get ill, or they're always complaining of headaches, or always having body aches that they normally would never complain about. That's another sign that grief is affecting their body, because it builds up. It literally will make you sick. But those are just a few things that I can think of what it looks like. But one of the bigger things is the person that is like just overly happy.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I worry about the most.
Yeah, like overcompensating.
Because I was that person. Yeah. It's like you're always on, always, hey, and they keep busy. They're always doing something. It's like, just got to keep, whereas you're normally, I've always been an on the go person. Like, I wake up in the morning and it's not oh my goodness, it's like, bing, I'm just up and ready to go. But I found that it became so much that I would literally wear myself down. And that was the only way that I could go to sleep at night, is I had to be almost dead tired. Like, I literally could not do anything else but go to bed. But I had to do that in order to keep myself preoccupied so that I would not focus on what I was feeling.
Yeah. I always like to think about like big comedians. They're all you see is happy, and people think they got it all. They're happy, blah, blah, blah. And then you see that they've taken their own life, and people are so blown away. But I'm always reminded, if you have really high highs, you probably have really low lows.
Really,
like, you can't expect that much. We're only human, right? You can't be that happy and that on the go all the time. And I feel like they feel that pressure to do so, which you probably did as well. Like, okay, well, I got to fake this. I got to show up ready. I got to be prepared. Grief, I feel like it's really hard to discuss. Like you said, there's still a little taboo about it. What are some ways that we can open that line of communication with somebody that we're worried about?
Now, a quick shout out to our sponsors.
If you're looking to buy or sell, I have the perfect realty company for you. Clark & Co. Realty is located in the Benton, Bryant, Arkansas area. And they understand that buying or selling a home is more than just a transaction. It's a life-changing experience. That's why their team of highly seasoned real estate professionals is dedicated to providing exceptional, personalized services for all their clients. They truly take great pride in the relationships they build, and they always work relentlessly on the client's behalf to help them achieve their perfect real estate goals. They always have the client in mind, and I can speak firsthand when I say how reliable, trustworthy, and quick they were. When I was looking to buy my first home, they were there with me every step of the way, answering every question I could think of. They showed me a great amount of knowledge and patience through the process. It's no wonder they've won so many awards for their outstanding services and their excellent relationships with clients. So if you're looking to buy or sell, there is no better option than Clark & Co. Realty.
Say this, it's really kind of difficult to per se open the line of communication. You just have to be there. Yeah. A lot of times when a person is grieving, depending on their personality, because everybody's personality type is different. So judging from that person's personality, you would know how to approach them. I know one thing that I do with any of my friends. I have one of my best friends lost her father not too long ago, and I had to take her out of her comfort zone, because as long as she was sitting in the house, she was going to be sad. She was going to continue to think on, what happened and all the things like that. But she would never talk about it. She would never say anything about her dad. So I was like, hey, let's go out and have a drink. And she was like, okay, cool. So we went out to have a drink, and I started talking about a situation that was similar to what she experienced, and boom,
Yeah.
she started talking. She was like, yeah, when my dad, this and the other, and I was so happy. So that's a way to open up the lines of communication. But mainly just be there, and, it's okay to probe, especially if you're concerned that a person has gotten to a place where they may, things may be, they can become harmful to themselves or other people. It's okay to probe in those times, but I feel like just asking some simple questions like, are you okay? I don't really like to ask that question because it's not really the best question to ask, especially when somebody's lost someone. However, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do for you? Just some simple questions just to kind of get some type of insight in it. Most times people are going to say, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
My acronym for fine is freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Amen. Oh, girl, I like that.
And so, most people know when I say fine, they're like, okay, give her a few days. She'll be all right. Yeah, give me 3 to 5 business days and I'll get back with you. But, but yeah, so it's like, you kind of have to judge, open the line based on your relationship with that person, and, study their personality, because I feel like a lot of times people don't know how to ask certain questions, whether it be about grief or anything, because they don't understand a person's personality type.
Mm-hmm.
And if like my best friend, I know her personality. We're both Capricorns. So I know that me just coming out and asking her, well, how are you feeling? Are you, have you been thinking about your dad? Will probably get me cussed out.
Shit, out.
Because we don't, that's not how we move. So for me, it's just having a conversation that is similar to what she went through, and she just opened up on her own. So it gives her that, that sense of control, because that's a Capricorn thing, but it also gives her the opportunity to speak freely. Yeah. And when you do open that line of communication, do not insert your personal story.
I like that.
Don't insert your personal story, because at that time, it's not really about you. If you're checking on your friend, let them talk, let them speak, let them say what they feel, and just reaffirm and reassure them that, hey, I know it's rough right now, but, I'm here. You can't tell them you're going to make it through, because you don't know that. You can't say you're going to be okay, because they're not okay right now.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to hear that. So it's just like, you just kind of have to judge their personality type and just kind of go in with some questions. Don't be too probing at first. But again, if you feel like they're going to harm themselves or somebody else, that's when you ask the probing questions. You don't have to be as aggressive, but just, ask the right questions.
Yeah. I like that. Something I have found, like, through that process, like, I've gone through grieving before. And it took me a long time to figure this out, but something I realized for me does not work, but it happened more than anything was after you kind of come out of it a little bit, people would say, well, if you wanted to talk about it, you would have reached out. I can't stand that. I can't stand that, because my personality, I'm not going to reach out if I need something.
Right.
I'm very independent. And so the friends that I felt the most support from were the ones that were just there. They didn't have to say anything. Like you said, they were just there. Hey, let's go get a drink. Hey, let me bring you dinner. Hey, let's watch a movie. It wasn't even conversations about what happened, but they were there. But I found something that was incredibly common, and people I loved dearly. They just didn't know how to handle the situation. But it was, well, if you needed something, I thought you'd just reach out. Who?
Right.
Okay, who do you know is going to pick up a phone and be like, hey, I'm not okay. Let's talk about it. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
It's wild. So I appreciate you, and I pat you on the back for doing that with your friend. And that's part of these discussions, is just making people okay with it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to show up to your friend and just be there. You could just sit in quiet, but to know that you're there.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that means a lot.
Yeah. So when you and I talked at first, you were talking about, you lost your brother through a horrific incident, and now you're an adult and recently lost another grandmother. How have you seen your grief change with time? Now that you know kind of what it looks like and you've written about it, have you noticed it change, or even you being able to address it?
Yeah, it's definitely changed over time. This year made 14 years since my baby brother passed away, and it'll be 13 years for my older brother on the 20th of this month. And, because I did not deal with it initially, I feel like I was kind of delayed in the process. However, even in just the last couple of years, I've had to do a lot of soul searching, a lot of digging, to understand my feelings. And so over that time, it is not as bad, I would say, but it's not that it's good either. They say time heals all wounds. That's a lie. That is a flat out lie, which people would stop telling people. That is a lie. But, you learn how to live with it. I used to hear people say, I suffer with diabetes. I suffer from this, that, and the other. And I never said that. I've always said I live with it. Because if I claim that I'm suffering from something, that means I'm defeated in it. But I live with grief because grief does not have me in a chokehold. One of the things that I do is that I've learned that helped me to get into the space that I'm in now. Grief still, like you have, my book is called Ride the Wave. So you have days where everything is cool, it's like smooth sailing. And then, baby, you'll hit a wave of grief will hit you and knock you across the room. It's like it'll set you back and make you feel like it's literally the day it happened.
Yeah.
But for me, I learned how to identify my triggers. Mm-hmm. I learned how to identify my emotions. And so how that helped me is that over the time that I've spent learning Zipporiah, learning those triggers, then now I know that, okay, well, this particular thing triggered me. And I actually go in, I have a journal, and it's called the Grief Couch, which is the same as my support group and the podcast that I have. But I go in and I just draw these boxes in my journal, and I put the time, the date, and the emotion that I felt and what I was doing leading up to that. So then I go back at the end of the day, and I'm like, okay, let me assess what happened here. What all led up to me being triggered by this particular thing. So then I know that at some point that thing will show up again, but it won't trigger me the same way it did because now I've identified it.
Yeah.
And I know what this does to me. Like the song, it's a song by Prince, I Would Die For You. Mm-hmm. That used to be me and my baby brother's favorite song. Yeah. And after he died, every time that song came on, because it's always on my playlist when I'm traveling, I was like, just going, oh my gosh, it was so bad. And now I'm just like, hey, because it's different. And I changed how I take the song, as in, in the moment when my brother was killed, I've always been a protector. I'm the middle child. I was the middle child, but I always was like the protector for my baby brother and my oldest brother at some point. But my baby brother was my heart. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I didn't protect him. Because I went by his house that morning, and I went by there several times, and then the next call I get is that he's been shot. Right. And so every time I would hear that song, I was like, I would have died for you.
Yeah.
If I had come back, I would have jumped in front of that bullet for you.
Yeah. Because
that's the type of love that I had for my brother. But then once I got into a different place, I'm like, you know what? It's not about what I would have done, because if I had done that, if it was God's will, then it would have happened. But because that was not his will for my life, I just have to accept it what it is and just know that this was one of our favorite songs. And when I hear it now, I feel your presence with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I feel you right here. So it has changed quite a bit. I have a new journey that it's a familiar experience, but a new journey with losing my last living grandparent, my grandmother that we just buried last week. So where I was when my mother's mother passed away and where I am now emotionally is totally different. Yeah. I miss my grandmother. I have not shed a tear yet because I just am still processing everything. But my grandmother was 82 years old. Mm-hmm. She lived a phenomenal life. So it's like the understanding of death itself has changed my perspective, especially when they're older. It's like, what do I really have to be sad about other than missing her? I can't be sad about a life that she lived because she lived a great life. Whereas my grandmother, my mom's mom was 88. I was sad because I'm like, she should still be here. My grandmother should still be here. And I'm like, but she was 88, girl. Like, come on.
She's like, no, I'm good. Thank you, though.
I told my grandmother, right. I used to tell my grandmother all the time, my mom's mom, I was like, Granny, you're going to live to be 120. She said, I hope not. But your mindset changes, you get older, so you understand it a little bit better. So the process of it is different, so.
Yeah. You had mentioned, and man, oh man, I know how that goes. People saying it gets better with time. Not true. There are just bigger gaps between the grieving, I feel like.
Absolutely.
How long can grief last?
My personal opinion is a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like you never, ever get over it. I had someone tell me not too long ago, well, it's been, this amount of time since your brothers died. You should be over it now.
Ooh,
I had a
fighting words. I feel like those are fighting words.
When I tell you, I felt just a bag of cuss words come up in my throat, and I was like, let me just block you. Okay, wow. Because the way I'm gonna set your soul on fire, baby, I promise you're gonna be begging Satan to come and snatch you, because I'm sending you under hell when I get done with you. I was so mad because I'm like, people are so insensitive. Like, why would you even say that? What in your brain? See, this is the thing. I'm just gonna kind of I feel like people who say stuff like they can't read. I mean, don't talk about everybody. I just really feel like they can't. You can't possibly read, because reading is fundamental, and it has less to do with your, ability to read, but more about your ability to understand and comprehend. So there's a blockage there. So I can't respond to you because you cannot read. You can't read, but yeah, it's a lifetime process. It's something that you will go through for the rest of your life. I have been around older people who lost parents. It's been 40, 50 years, and they're still like, prime example, as my grandmother was transitioning, she was calling for her mother. Oh. My grandmother's mother died when she was 30. She was 30. All those years, and you still, the first person that you call for is your mom. You miss your mom. There were times, even when my grandfather, when he was still alive, that he would say, I just miss my mama. I miss my mama. And he would cry. And I'm like, this lady been gone forever. But now that I've lived that myself, I understand it, because it's something that you literally go through for the rest of your life. And it's not something that you get over. It's not something that you can ignore. You can try, but it'll catch you around your neck at some point. But it's a lifelong process. Something you'll never get over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that took time learning for me as well, because I've had people, I literally have heard stories about people had loved ones pass away. The funeral was on Friday, and then people be like, it's Monday. It's time to get back to work. And people are, you talked about society earlier. It's work, 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 work. Keep yourself busy, stay occupied, stay happy, stay busy. And we don't even give time to grieve. And you can even go back to COVID when people were passing away in healthcare. You show up to work and you act happy even though you just lost 10 patients. Our society is just unrealistic. But you had mentioned a minute ago, you journal now and you identify triggers. What's some advice that you could give other people regarding grief? Like maybe some coping mechanisms they could do.
Again, just going back to the boxes that I use, like I'm big on emotional identification, my feelings, my thoughts, all of those things. Being self-aware is one of the biggest. It's like the biggest gift I really gave to myself, so that I can share that with other people. Is that being emotionally aware of your thoughts and your feelings, your motives, your intentions, and everything that you do will help you to understand your process, because everybody's grief process is not the same. And I say this And I tell anybody that I speak to, most of the time when I'm doing any type of motivational speaking, I always tell people this. Everybody grieves. I don't care if you're a mom, dad, sister, friend, cousin. Everybody grieves, but the depth of that grief is all going to depend on the relationship.
Yeah.
So everybody's relationship is different. That's like my dad losing his mom. That's my grandmother. So my grief and his grief is not going to be the same because the relationship was not the same.
Yeah.
That's what I had to understand about my mom when she lost my brothers. The relationship is different, so the grief is not going to be the same. So I neglected myself because I was emotionally ignorant to these particular things. But I will say just identifying your emotions, identifying what you feel in those moments, and giving yourself patience to go through it. Giving yourself patience to understand where the feelings come from. Why do I feel this way? Not just because, this person died or this, that, and the other. No, it's deeper than that. Why do you feel this way? What is your connection to them that makes you feel this sense of loss or feel this void? Getting really deep into what you feel and knowing exactly what you feel and why you feel that way helps. I do journal quite a bit, but then also something very cute that I do. I think it's really cool. I like to color.
Okay.
And so when I color, in the top right hand of my coloring book, it's not the same every day. Every day, a different color represents a different emotion, a different feeling. So as I'm coloring, I'm actually releasing that emotion.
I love it.
As I'm coloring. So that's one thing that I do that I absolutely enjoy. I really do. And then playing my Nintendo, of course.
Okay.
But no,
what Nintendo though? What kind?
It's the NES. It's the very first one.
Okay.
I have the one. My dad bought it in 1980 something, and we still had it. He never got rid of it. Put it in the box. He still has his Atari and all the game consoles. He's a big nerd. I love it. Yeah,
I love it.
But yeah, those are some of the coping mechanisms or coping tools that I have. But just my encouragement to people is to figure out what your grief journey looks like for you. And when you figure out what it looks like for you, then you will be able to create your own journey, your own path, the things that make you happy, the things that bring you joy, the things that will not pacify your emotions, but help you explore them and release those feelings so that you can be a better self for you first, and then for everybody that falls in line with that, underneath that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you have a higher power or something that you believe in, that's always a good way to go, and finding your peace within that, because you have to have something to believe in, even in order for you to have something to doubt.
Yeah.
But those are just some of the things that I do to just help me cope and help me figure out because I just started a new journey. I'm still trying to figure out the journeys from everybody else that has passed on. And then I'll just give you this one thing. Grief does not always just have to do with death.
Yep.
I'm grieving my mother. She's still here, but I don't have her in the capacity that I had her before. So I grieve the part of her that I no longer have access to.
Yep.
She has trouble speaking. She's fully disabled. My mom was a singer and a preacher. All the things, she's traveled the country doing all that. So she can't do that now. So when I want my mom, and now she has dementia because of the brain injury that she suffered from the stroke. So that person that I need to mother me, I don't have that anymore.
Yep.
So I have had to learn that, I'm grieving that. Even my friend that I told you about that is very promiscuous. She's not grieving a loss of someone. She's grieving a loss of her innocence. And I had to identify that with her. I was like, you were molested as a young girl. And so you do this because you're trying to get back something somebody stole from you, and you'll never get it back.
Yep.
So you're grieving that loss, and you didn't know it. And it has helped her so much that this is a journey too.
Yeah.
So grief extends far beyond just death. It goes into pretty much every aspect of your life. You can grieve losing a house, a car, a job, friendships, all of that. So, like I said, just figure out what that journey looks like for you. You have to identify where you are first in order to know where you want to go. And on a grief journey, there's not an ending. There's not a destination. It's just living one day at a time, 1 minute at a time. So you can't say, well, I'm trying to land here. No, keep going. Because you might land there and then you end up right.
Yeah.
You might land there, but you're gonna end up back at the front. You're going to back at step one. At some point. Now you might get back over to 13, but you want back to 1 at some point. Just know that, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Now, something I always like to ask people, did you ever go to counseling? Was counseling something you were accepting of eventually?
Yeah, I had to go to counseling. Like, when I had that moment, I was like, okay, girl, listen.
We losing it.
Hey, I don't know. I feel like in a minute you're going to be eating grapes off the wallpaper. So you might need to get it together and go to therapy because you cannot figure this out, and my biggest, now this is just for me personally, my biggest problem is that, again, I'm a Capricorn. I feel like I can do everything myself.
Yep.
I'm not going to ask anybody to help me. If I need therapy, I can shrink myself. And then because I felt like, okay, my degree is in psychology, so I don't need a therapist. Until I went to therapy, and the therapist was like, well, I have a therapist. I was like, oh, well, okay. She's like, every therapist is a therapist. I was like, oh, gotcha. But yeah, I went to therapy, and I'm so glad that I did. I actually started therapy, 7 years ago? And the crazy part is I stopped going for about a year. And within that year is when I had that meltdown and I went back. But before that, I went and I got the same therapist, which I was happy. But it wasn't until I had that meltdown that she actually told me, she said, I've been waiting on this to happen.
Yep.
She's like, because you've been in therapy all this time and not one time have you mentioned your brothers. Only thing you talked about was, I'm going through this with my wife and this, that, and the other, whatever, and my kid is doing this, da 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 da. She said, you talked about everything but that.
Yep.
She said you would mention it every now and then, but you would mention it in a way just like, okay, yeah, that's what it is. She was like, and I kept saying, like, at some point, it's gonna hit her. It's gonna hit her. And so when I went back, she was like, well, welcome back. Who are you? I'm like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here now.
When you go back to 1?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, listen, I think I'm going crazy. And she was like, you're not going crazy, Zipporiah. I'm like, listen, something's wrong. And so I finally started talking about it, and it helped me put a lot of things into perspective. So I definitely recommend therapy. I'm getting my grief life coach certification in a couple of weeks, because I've had so many people reach out to me and was like, can our family come and sit and talk to you? And it's always good to have somebody that you can go to. Therapy is great. It's really, really good. But if you can't get to therapy, your pastor, your spiritual leader, guru, whatever you want to call them, hey, go get with somebody that makes you feel safe. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. That you feel safe speaking with, that you know that you can be vulnerable and they're not going to judge you.
Yeah.
That's the key. And so I recommend it 100% therapy, or just, somebody that you can trust. And therapy is really, like I said, the best advice anybody could give you, simply because there are sometimes when we want to talk to friends or family and stuff like that, and some people can be they're not as compassionate and understanding of situations, especially people who've never been there.
Yeah.
If they've not been there, they are not gonna, help woosah you. They just gonna tell you, girl, okay. I had a lady literally last week, a pastor, and I hate to say it, but because I did just say a spiritual leader, but no, it was real. She asked me, she's like, well, how are you feeling? What's going on? What are your thoughts? And I told her, I was like, I thought I was ready because I was there when my grandmother passed. And I thought I was mentally prepared for that. And I just expressed that to her. And she messaged me back and she was like, child, please, you better get somewhere and do this or whatever. And I was like,
excuse me. I take that back. I'm going to go talk to somebody else. Thank you, though.
But I had to understand. I was like, okay, either she's not ever lost anybody that close to her, or she's just, very cold. But it turns out she's never experienced loss on that level.
Yeah.
So I had to be like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to go off on you today. I'm going to leave you alone.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, therapy, that's why I say therapy is the best option, because they're non-biased. And although they may not have dealt with that, but they can help guide you emotionally to where you need to be, or even help you figure out your journey without see me cold and, not concerned about you and things like that. So therapy is always a good way to go.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Where you had talked about, and we mentioned this several times, you've written not only one book, but like multiple books. Where can people find these? Where can they find all your work?
You can find my books on Amazon.com under my name, Zipporiah Brockman, or you can go to my website, ZipporiahSBrockman.com, and you can order there. I mean, if you're in the Little Rock or Maumelle, Conway area, any place like that, I always have books on hand, so you can hit my Facebook page and let me know you got them, and I can get you some signed copies.
I was about to say, you could autograph them at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little disappointed I hadn't gotten one yet, but that's all right, Zippy. I'm not gonna hold it against you. That's okay. That's
you know
right.
what? I got you though. I got you. I got a stash in the back seat. I got you.
Yeah, okay. It better be signed, is all I'm saying. That's okay.
I got you.
All right, okay. I'm holding you to it right now.
All right.
What do you have Instagram, Facebook? I know you mentioned your Facebook, but
yes, I have Zipporiah Shanae, or you can just go to Zipporiah Brockman, or just Zipporiah on Instagram.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right. Zippy, I appreciate you hopping on here. I know you're crazy busy. You've had a crazy week, so I truly appreciate you taking time to talk to me and my listeners. It means so much.
Well, I appreciate you for inviting me. I appreciate it. I needed this, so yeah.
You're telling me. Listen, I feel like I just went to therapy. I'm feeling all kinds of better. I don't feel like I'm grieving anything today, but I feel better.
Listen, I'm telling you, talking about it always helps. It does.
I agree with that 1,000,000%. Okay, so listeners, you know how this works. We're going to continue talking. We're going to get to know Zippy a little bit more outside of just the area of grief. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty, okay? But that's only for my patrons. If you want to see that, log over to patreon.com/TownsendTmusic. And that's actually how we support this entire You're Not Alone with Townsend journey, how we keep the podcast going, keep the foundation going. So look over there. You'll see all these extra questions. If not, we'll see you next time.
If you'd like to hear the rest of this interview, visit patreon.com/TownsendTmusic. And don't forget, you can also watch the interviews on our YouTube channel at TownsendTmusic YouTube.